Hey everyone! So today's going to be a fun day because I'm going to take you around the garden and show you what is alive and what died overwintering out here on my garden deck. So I have two decks, front and back. I overwintered in two different methods. On the front deck where I am right now, most of the stuff I overwintered I just shoved into the corner right behind me. So there was no other protection other than just being up against the house. The only exception were my two blueberries that I could not move at the time because they were too heavy and not on wheels. They are on wheels now, but those were just shoved up against the wall of the deck where they were. So the plants kind of fall into a few different categories. There are some that I know for sure are alive. There are some that I'm like 99% sure that are dead and we're going to check. There's some that I'm like, think there might be an issue, but I'm not 100% sure, so I would love your help on that. And then other things that I have no idea, and we're going to check them today. How I'm going to check them is just basically kind of scratch a little bit of the stem, see if it is green or brown on the inside. The plants on the back deck had a little bit more protection. They were all in a plastic greenhouse that you'll see when we're over there. The reason I did that was because last year I lost all of my tulip bulbs that I planted in smaller pots because they got too much moisture. So the original plan for the greenhouse was to put my tulip bulbs in there just to keep them safe from water, not necessarily temperature. But then I went ahead and put in all of the other plants that were small enough to fit into the greenhouse that I thought would like a little bit of extra protection during the winter as well. Some of these plants have come back year after year, so I'm like pretty secure that they're going to survive out here. Other ones were just ones that I was trying for this year and I don't know how they're doing, but let's go around and take a look. So we'll start here on the front deck and then we'll move over to the back deck afterward. Let's start over here with these four plants. So I have my knockout rose, two blueberry bushes, and one of my two raspberry bushes. The other one is on the back deck. I might move that back up front, not sure yet, but let's start over here. So this is the raspberry bush that I cut back completely. Again, I'm doing two different methods of pruning. So this one I chopped all the way back, and you can see in here, I think you can, there is green coming out. So I should be completely fine with this raspberry. I've been overwintering raspberries up here, just again, leaving them in the container pushed up against the house. This is the third winter they were out here. They've always come back no problem, so I was not surprised about that. Now, my two blueberry bushes. So in terms of just surviving the winter, never had a problem. And this one over here looks good and ready to go. There are buds. Don't mind my band-aid. There are buds here on the stems. This one pretty good. Similar with the raspberry. It's been 3 winters, so not surprised that these have survived. One thing I'm not sure of, and I would love your help. So not last year, but the year before, I did lose one of my blueberry bushes due to, I think it was blight. Again, not quite an expert in blueberry bush diseases, but I've noticed similar things happening with this blueberry bush and one on the back deck that happened 2 years ago. So if I come in close, let's take this one for example, you can see here how the tip of the blueberry bush is kind of like deep brown, and it's kind of been getting more brown as I've been checking on it, like kind of further down the stem. So see here too, actually doesn't look quite as dark on camera, but it's basically like deep brown, almost black, and that has started to kind of go down the blueberry bush. Now there are buds, so again, I think in terms of just surviving the cold on the deck, that was fine. But let me know if you know, is this an actual disease? What I've done in the past is try to cut the branches back, I think like 6 inches below where they were turning that brown color, but I still ended up losing that blueberry bush. So let me know if you have any experience with that issues for blueberries. So yeah, I'm not sure about this one. This bush, though, overall looks good. Now, let's come over here to the knockout rose. This was beautiful last year. It bloomed so many times throughout the season. I just got it last year, so this was the first time overwintering it. And I was nervous because the year before I had another rose tree that did not survive. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try again, because I think the one that didn't survive last year got too much water because it was sitting under a spot in the gutter where water, I think, just poured onto it. It was either this or the hydrangea. So I lost that one, but I was like, I don't know if it was the cold or maybe it was excess water that caused the roots to rot. But I think overwintering roses on this deck, unless they're super cold hardy, which I don't think this one was. I think this one is only down to a zone 5. But I think if I'm not going to provide it any extra protection, so it's too big to fit in the greenhouse I have, it's too heavy to carry down to the garage, I don't think just leaving roses out in a container over winter is going to work for me, because I'm pretty sure this is dead. So let's come in closer here now. So the first reason I assumed this was dead is because there are no buds on it. And spoiler alert, I do have a rose bush out back that I did overwinter in the greenhouse, and that has buds. So I thought, you know what, since this one is not budding up, that's probably not a great sign. The other reason is that I did scratch off on some of these branches, and I'm pretty sure they looked all brown inside. So I have my pruners right here. I'm just going to cut maybe this one right off there. This is where I need 3 hands, but if I grab this without stabbing myself, oh, dropped it and stabbed myself. Let's try that again. So you can see, I think in here, that it is all brown. There is absolutely no sign of green anywhere in this stem. So I'm pretty sure this rose bush is a goner. And it is sad when I lose a plant like this, but I also don't mind because, I mean, first, now I've learned something. I've learned that at least knockout roses or roses that are only hardy down to like zone 5 aren't going to work for containers, overwintering them here up on my deck. And also, it means that I now can empty out this pot, and I have a big pot that I can use for a tree that I have up here, so I don't have to buy another pot. So I always try to look for the positives in situations like this when I do lose a plant. But let's continue on, and I'll show you the other ones that are on this front deck. Now over on this side of the deck, I have 3 more pots out here, and they all seem to be alive. So this right here is my aronia berry bush. This, I think, was a second winter, and it came back fine last year. So again, not too surprised, but always grateful. So these, you can see here, there are buds all along the stems. So this one looks good. Then I have 2 pots of rhubarb. This will be the 3rd year for the rhubarb. So you can see in here, it's starting to poke up in this one. This other one is a little bit further along where there are actual leaves starting to unfurl. So that is very exciting. So that is the front deck. Again, I've lost the rose bush. Let me know if you know anything about diseases with blueberries and if you can identify what might be wrong with my blueberry bush based on this video, or if it's normal and fine, let me know too, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same thing that happened 2 years ago. But now let's head over to the back deck. On the back deck here, we have the plum tree that I just got, so not including that, raspberry, 2 tiny blueberries, strawberry plants, 2 miniature roses, and all of my tulips, and then some other stuff in the greenhouse we'll look at in just a second. But first off, with this raspberry bush, this is the one that I did not, obviously, cut back to the ground. I only pruned out some branches and kind of cut the tips back to where they bloomed last year, but you can see, I mean, this one's probably the furthest along of all my plants, but you can see all of the green popping up here on these stems. So other raspberry bush is good to go. Then I have this blueberry bush here, which didn't lose its leaves over winter in the greenhouse. I think for the most part it looks good. I do see more buds forming. I don't think I see any issues with the stems, but I do see some issues on this other one. So these were 2 different types of miniature blueberries. This one, I guess, was Sapphire Cascade. But again, I see kind of the tips of all of these branches are brown, and it does seem like that's traveling down the stems. So same thing to the other one up front. Let me know your thoughts. Next up is my container of strawberries. There are 2 plants in here. These were also in the greenhouse. I did cut back all of last year's foliage, and I think I see some green right in there. So I'm hoping we should be good, and these should start growing back. And then we have these 2 miniature knockout roses. So these were also in the greenhouse over winter. And a few things that are different from the one up front. I mean, first of all, there's actually green, like on these stems. There was absolutely no green on the ones out in the front. They were all brown. Now there are some brown stems here, which I think I might maybe prune in a little bit, but I'm pretty sure these are alive. You can see some buds forming here. So I think these are going to be good. And then obviously all of my tulips here that were in the greenhouse are doing great. I think I'm gonna have to say that the ones in this bed didn't make it. I'm gonna give them a little bit more time, but I'm pretty sure those tulip bulbs did not. But I have a plan for that I will show you at a later date. Now let's go look at the ones inside the greenhouse still. This is the greenhouse I used to overwinter the plants. I do have the cherry trees in here just because it's been cold and they're still so small that I want to make sure they get a little bit of extra protection before I keep them out completely, but I just got those, so not counting those. But here is the other patio rose bush that I got. So this is again a smaller one. You can see there's buds, the stems are green. Pretty sure this one is good to go. Then I have 1, 2, 3 hydrangeas. These I am not at all sure about. We're going to give a little scratch to the stems and see how it goes. And then I have the dahlia tuber back there that I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So these 2 grow bags are empty. Obviously when this was filled up, I just shoved everything kind of against this dahlia tuber to give it a little bit more protection, but again, don't have super high hopes for that. But I'll show you what I do with that in just a second. Okay, I've opened the other side of the greenhouse, but I wanted to show you. So for this hydrangea, I just used my nail and scratched into one of the stems, and you can see that green there. So there is some life in this hydrangea. This one back here, I'm not going to scratch because I can actually see green buds. So that one should be good. This one, though, I'm actually not hopeful about. So I think if you scratch into this stem, I feel like I'm only going to see brown because I did cut off an old bloom. Nope, I'm wrong. I was going to say I cut off an old bloom and there wasn't really anything green right under it, but look at that. There is green right there. So I think, as of now, my hydrangeas are alive. All right, so for the back deck, I don't think any of my potted plants are like completely dead, which is good. Again, let me know about the blueberry bush. I guess the bulbs in the raised beds, I'll count. The ones out front are all doing fine. And now I'm going to take the dahlia inside, and again, we won't know yet if it's alive, but I'll keep you updated. But let me show you, I'm going to move it inside, and I'll talk a little bit about what I do with that. We're inside, and the dahlia tuber is just sitting on the bottom of this rack where I have all of my seeds. So I just leave this here, and then I guess we'll see if any green starts to sprout. So we won't know yet, but I will keep you updated. So that is everything that I think is dead or alive in my garden after overwintering it out here on the deck. Now, sometimes I have thought things were alive and then they end up not coming back as spring progresses. So I'll keep you updated if any of my initial thoughts change. But I think it seems like only the knockout rose completely didn't survive just over winter. Again, might have issues with the blueberries. Most everything else I think looks pretty good. So yeah, if you're in kind of climate similar to mine, what seems to always be okay in pots overwintering are blueberries unless there's some sort of disease, raspberries, rhubarb, what else did I have? The aronia berry. A lot of those bushes that are really cold hardy do very well in containers. And again, I didn't do anything extra with those other than just shove them into the corner. So if you have any other plants that you know do really well in containers and you're in a similar growing zone, let me know, because maybe I'll add them to the deck. But that's going to be everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.